So, do you guys ever think about what life was like back in high school?
Do you guys ever wonder what you really learned in high school?
Or the things that you really are trying to forget?
I'm going to be honest with you. I try to not think about high school that much at all.
Honestly, same.
Boo, boo, boo. Here's the music. This is where the music is. I don't know what the song is yet, but I don't think it's going to sound like this.
What if that is it?
Honestly, same.
Ooh, honestly, same.
Honestly, same.
Honestly, same.
Honestly,
Honestly,
same.
same. Honestly,
Honestly,
same.
same. Honestly, same.
Honestly, same.
Honestly, same.
Honestly, same.
This week we're talking about high school. What were we like back in high school?
Actually, I think it'd be really funny.
I do kind of think that would be amazing.
Hey, we already got the first one done.
It was that easy.
Song. Well, we recorded a whole song, and now I think let's just make the podcast now. Let's talk about. You guys want to talk about high school?
Part of me does and part of me does
Right.
not, but yeah.
Tricky question.
Well, we all signed up to do this as the topic of this week's episode, so I think we got to commit to it at this point.
Yeah, I hope you're paying me extra for this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Checks will be in the mail from our sponsors this week. All of our high schools.
Oh, great.
All of our high schools are
And
sponsoring the
what
show.
high schools did you guys go to, just so that we can paint a picture for everyone?
Just so we can clarify. You want me to go first?
Sure.
I'll go first. So I went to a school called Crooksville High School.
Ooh.
A very, yes, please, oohs and ahs are welcome.
It's very ooh, not
It's it's a little more than okay. Yeah, super small town called Crooksville that no one has really ever heard of. I don't hate it. I'll say that up front of this episode. I'm not a person who hates my hometown, and I don't really hate my school at all. But it was a very small school for sure. I think my graduating class was around 100, and I think that was really it. What about you, Leah?
I went to Menor High School up in Menor, Ohio. Go Cards.
Cards?
Cardinals.
Oh,
Once a card, always a card.
I thought
That's what everybody
the men are
said.
cards. Like you said, your mascot is a big
Mascot
card
is
walking.
like a walking or a
Yeah.
flat Stanley.
Not even the ace of spades. It's like a 3 of clubs. No. But
Yes.
I graduated around probably like 800 or more people. So I had actually like the exact opposite, I think, of what you had. It was really like just crowded and lots of people.
That sounds a little more That sounds a little
That's more of an ah. Yours is an ooh. Mine's definitely an ah.
All right, Brittany, you an ooh and an ah. Let's
I'm
find
in
out.
between, I think.
Okay.
I'm very indifferent to my hometown and my high school. I just think that everything is the exact same as I left it. And so it feels a little detached. But I went to Hamilton Township, which is surrounded by cornfields. So super fun. Lots of stuff to do. Cow tipping. Just kidding.
Okay.
Senior prank.
Yeah. And my graduating class was like 150. So everyone knows everyone, but it wasn't as bad as some small towns, I will say.
Okay.
Okay, well then that's charming. I feel like that's like right in between an ooh and an ah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's,
What sound?
just
What
like you
sound
said.
is that?
Wah!
It's a wah. Okay.
It's a wah. If anyone ever said that to me in response to, yeah, I went to a pretty small school. Wah. Okay. Cool. I don't want to. We're not going to do this anymore.
Yeah, I'm
I
not
want
elaborating.
nothing more than this moment to end right now. That's what I would like. Okay, I want to paint the picture. Who were we in high school? Let's start it off there. Who were each of us in high school? Let's jump in the time machine. Let's go back. Who wants to go first of letting their high school version out?
I'll go first because my high school was actually when I moved up to the high school, because we had junior high, which went 7th through 9th. So I was 10th grade technically when I was in high school. And in 10th grade, if I'm starting from the beginning, I was like choir kid and also scene kid, but sometimes preppy kid. I felt like I almost was somebody new every single day. Still had great hair, maybe did
Love
some
it.
stupid colors, and it's like a rite of passage.
Okay, fair.
So that's who I was. I felt like I wasn't necessarily like a super outgoing kid, but like I had, my core group of friends, and I could connect pretty easily with the people around me without trying super hard. So I wouldn't say I was like popular, but I would say I could get along with like pretty much anybody as far as like I didn't have like enemies in school, that kind of thing.
Yeah. You know what's weird about the popular thing is like, I mean, I think we all know that like the movie cliches aren't totally real, unless
For sure.
unless we have like, I guess Brittany, you haven't went yet, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't experience the
Not
cliches.
honestly same. Okay.
Honestly, nah, and here's why.
No.
Let me tell you, because like I feel like so,
Honestly, whoa!
honestly, wah.
It sounds like a Mario noise.
It absolutely does. I'm honestly just gonna take his soundbite and put it over
Beautiful.
that.
Perfect.
That's his reaction.
TM. We won't get sued.
We trademarked Mario. That's just
Sorry about it. First
yep,
ones ever.
Yep. Sorry guys. Should have jumped on it earlier. But I feel like my answer is sort of similar, especially when it comes to like the whole like popular thing. What's weird is if we're talking high school, I do feel like my friends and I were the popular kids,
Ooh, Ross was popular. Okay.
but we were still this weird group of kids though, and who got along with everybody. You know what I mean? There was no cliches in our school. Everybody had their different versions of themselves. Like, yes, there were the goth kids. There were the football
I like that you
jocks.
pointed to me when you
There
did
wa-
that.
No, I'm
The goth kids.
There were the goth.
No, look, listen. All right, if you're watching this,
And I'm a football jock.
you,
So.
see, because I pointed this way.
I
to
love that for
Brittany.
you.
You're the football jock. You're the goth. I'm back in high school right now. This is
So
what I'm
you have
saying.
to give me a wedgie if
Oh,
we're going by the.
done.
But
and
we're
done.
not. See, that's the point. We're
If we're
not
going by the
cliches.
stereotypes.
If we're not, if
You
we're
have
avoiding,
to give me a wedgie.
if we're not going by the stereotypes,
Talk to me after the show.
I'd be friends with both of you. See,
okay.
that is the
Okay.
key. But that is the thing, and like I feel like that's a big thing I noticed in high school. Was like, oh wait, everyone here is friends with everybody. It doesn't matter if you're the jock, if you're the skaters, if you're the whatever. Because like me individually, I became a scene kid in high school, and it was me and like 2 or 3 other friends who wore super tight pants and V-necks and like straightened our hair and looked like we did not belong in Crooksville, Ohio. And then everybody else was a normal Crooksville, Ohioan, but then we were the only scene kids. So I was 100% a scene kid, really, really worried about like when can I start getting tattoos so I look as cool
Oh,
as possible.
absolutely.
Started venturing into like joining a band and all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Trying to figure, but I hold this weird like, I don't know if pride is maybe the right word, of like knowing that like my group of friends honestly, like we didn't really like suck in high school, and I'm kind of proud of that.
That's
You know what I mean?
good.
Like we
No,
were like
yeah.
we literally wanted to be like we went out of our way to be friends with everyone.
Okay.
And we didn't look at any of that like, oh well, they're them and we're us and blah blah. No, it was like, oh no, yeah, let's like we're gonna be friends with everybody. Now did everybody take it that way? Who knows? I don't know. But yeah,
There's somebody out there going,
yeah, there's someone listening to this
Yeah,
right now. Like, yeah,
okay,
that-
Ross.
that
One
asshole.
time in 8th grade,
Yeah, I don't forget the way you looked at me in the hallway that one day.
oh my gosh.
So yeah, that was I was a scene kid who wanted to be friends with everybody. So,
All right.
all right, Brittany.
I was a little bit like Leah, but mine wasn't like a progression every like day. It kind of was, but I more so from like freshman year to senior year changed a lot. I choir kid. I did sports. I did a lot of sports, but I also really, really wanted to get tattooed and had color hair, and I was everywhere. My lunch table, because that's how you really know, right? That's how you really
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
My lunch table was a lot of popular girls, but there was also lots of falling outs. Like those weren't my friends. Kind of like, you know, we've talked about this before, surface level relationships in high school because we're in the same building with all these people. I feel like I was really nice in high school. I hope a lot of people think that of me, but I got into a lot of drama with really not nice people, and I probably made bad decisions within there. So I was never mean to anyone that maybe I didn't think deserved it at the time.
Fair, yeah.
But I don't really feel like I was ever in like a specific group. Like I hung out with the cool older people, but then like not a lot of people in my grade. So I'm cool over here, but these people don't care. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
Like it was
that
just
makes sense.
it was just like a hodgepodge of
Right.
everything. And as far as what I looked like, it was exactly like this. I looked the same with eye wrinkles.
Incredible.
Yeah,
I love it.
literally.
If I straightened my hair today, I probably would, minus glasses.
You know,
I didn't
you
wear
should
glasses
have
before.
for the occasion.
I really should have.
Yeah.
Then
Maybe
this would be
can.
like the episode where people would just think you look like this all the time.
They'd be like, yeah, so you haven't changed since high school. I get it.
You'd
Yeah.
just be going,
So anyway, guys, I what I was thinking was, yes, just constant hair flips. I think that is the thing though about high school is like, I think about that all the time where I'm like, I think I was really nice to everybody. I tried, but there's someone for sure.
Emotions get the best of us when we're that age.
And there's also, you can't avoid high school drama also. I
Yeah.
can think of stories where I'm like, oh yeah, why would I have even
How did I get here?
Like, why would I do that with that person? Why would I agree with that or why would I whatever? But that's also high school.
Yeah.
So let's dive deeper into that. We've laid the groundwork of who we were a little bit, what we look like, all those good things. Let's just dive into like what was high school like in general for each of us.
So there's actually a documentary about my high school specifically.
What?
Yeah, because we had a very high number of suicides come out of Menor High School. Yes. And I have not seen said documentary. It was not the like experience that I had as far as bullying goes. I still have that kind of mentality that there are so many people in the school that if you can't be friends with these people, you can be friends with those people. And I think that a lot of like what was happening was like internal like groups, because it wasn't like a whole school of 800 class kids like bullying one person at a time or whatever. But there were individuals that felt so targeted that was something that we had a high number of. There were not like any people that I was super close with. There was a girl that lived down the road from me, but I didn't know her personally. A couple things like that. And so like the environment as a whole, you would always see cliques of people, but it wasn't like there was a hierarchy of cliques. It was more so you could see, this group of people and you could see that group of people, and maybe they never intermingle with each other, but there's drama amongst those groups. Okay. So as much as like, I like to think like, oh, I was nice to everybody as well. I'm sure that there's probably people out there that might think differently. Most of my interactions stayed within my core group of friends because there were just so many. So it was almost more like my high school social life versus like what it was actually like to be in high school. But I was very focused on my immediate group and not so much around a lot of the people outside of that.
See, that's what's weird. Like with my school experience, I feel like you kind of had no choice but to know what everyone was up to. Because it's just such a small town. It was like, oh yeah, the people in the grade below us are doing this. The people that are in the grade above us are doing this. And like all the other friends groups are involved in this. And this person's hanging out with that person. Yeah. Like there was kind of no avoiding that, I feel like, at my school.
Yeah.
Where like it was just sort of like everybody was intermingled enough.
That's how I think mine was.
Yeah.
Not everyone, like, it wasn't one big clique. They still would go their separate ways, but there would be like ways that they would. Right. Intertwine.
Yeah.
All the time, whereas hers were like apart.
Right.
This is a group of people. This is a group of people.
The only time I think that there was like intermixing of things like that is like, okay, like let's say you and I were both in like show choir, or we were both playing volleyball or something like. Right. Then you kind of get people across the board from different groups and stuff, and then you obviously have like that sort of bond with those people specifically. But it was kind of one of those things where you'd go to school and like you heard somebody had passed away and you'd literally be like, I don't even know who that person is.
What?
I have to ask, have a lot of people obviously from yours, like I've lost probably like 10 people from high school since I graduated in 2013.
Hard for me to say.
I've lost and
that's from like a small school.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd say 10, but there's been like, I would say a handful.
Yeah. I don't know if my school's bad luck
I don't know.
But like
maybe they could make a documentary about it.
They absolutely could.
Yeah, they really could.
I would rather them not, but they could.
I feel like all of our schools could probably have a documentary, but yours already does. So when you were in high school, it was like a reoccurring, not like weekly or something, but like
no,
it was
I think
for it to happen more than like once maybe. I'm like, whoa.
During my time, and keep in mind again, I was only there 10th through 12th. So not even counting 9th grade, I want to say from starting and graduating, I think there they weren't all suicides, but there were at least 4 deaths. There was like
That's
somebody
wild.
that like, I don't know if he fell in the shower or something. There were a couple of overdoses. That was another thing too.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say like at least 2 of them were overdoses.
Yeah. See, I feel like all of those things have mostly come after.
Yeah.
Like anybody who.
Yeah. What I'm talking about is like within the last 10 years, not necessarily
Yeah.
when I was in school still. Yeah.
Yeah, there was only, and I'm not going to like go deeper into this because I don't know anything about it. The only thing I remember, probably like senior year or something, someone was in an accident in our hometown, and there was this like low-key like investigation of like thinking that somebody else in the school caused the accident. So that's like the spiciest
I have
thing.
so much tea like that, but
Really?
yeah, but that could be a whole different episode. Oh,
Wait, hey, that's
I don't know.
guys.
Okay,
in the future,
okay.
we'll do an episode about all of
High
our
school.
High
Surprise.
school
potentially
drama.
illegal to talk about conspiracies and drama.
honestly, my story is I'm a little scared to tell it because
I mean, yeah, I don't want to die.
well, but it's about me. But then it also
Oh.
involves
It's
someone
about
else.
other people.
Yeah.
Well,
that
yeah.
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah,
Just
yeah.
a little cliffhanger. But if you went to high school with me and you're listening, and we're talking about drama in our school, you probably know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
So it was
here's,
the drama.
Yeah.
here's what'll happen: is after we stop recording,
It's a
Leah and I
little
will get
bonus
the
episode.
stories.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or yeah, you know what? Patreon exclusive.
Oh, there we go.
If you want the stuff that we might not be able
Everyone
to
from
legally
Brittany's
speak about,
hometown is gonna.
I'll be risking my life, but on Patreon,
you
it'll
know
be
what?
worth it.
It's worth that $3 subscription tier.
Please and thank you.
It's perfect.
Gosh.
Okay, so do you want to dive more into what high school was like really like for you, Brittany?
Okay. For me, I don't know. It was just about finding myself. So that's why I was doing everything. I feel like a little bit like Leah, like I did choir, started in 7th grade through sophomore year when I went to cosmetology school at the Career Center. I loved choir. I did a lot of sports. I loved soccer so much. Again, gave it up when I went to the Career Center just because the schedule didn't make sense. As you know, like you have to do service hours and things like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's a lot.
I was very boy crazy. So I had lots of friends. I had like great friends and acquaintances and stuff, but I really only cared about boys
Oh yeah.
at the time. Like that was my high school experience, was
Yeah.
whoever I was talking to or dating or whatever it was.
That
It
makes
always
sense.
seems like your life revolves around that when you're that young,
Absolutely.
because I don't know why, but it's like it seems like from a young age, I think girls especially, we get like you always see little boys like pretending to be pirates or like playing with like swords or guns, and then you see girls like dressed up and they're like, this is my wedding dress.
Yeah.
Like we're so like, I don't know, kind of. Sorry guys, my phone is buzzing.
We get it. You're famous.
Wow.
Sorry guys, let me turn off my notifications. I'm really popular.
Live chat's blowing up right now.
All her friends from high school.
Yeah, they're like, what are you saying? There's just this ringing. They're like,
Yeah,
I think
their ears
Leah
are burning.
Stanger's talking about me on a
Hold on a
podcast right
minute.
now. But no, I definitely had the same experience where like it was the end of the world if a boy didn't like me back, or you know, whatever drama was going on. Like I had my core group of friends that like probably mattered more to me than, but like it was really close.
Yeah.
With like who you were dating or who you were talking
You
to
just
and
those
who you
things
hung
so
out with.
intensely. It does not matter how long. You could have met them yesterday. I could have just had one class with you. It's the first day of school, and I love you.
Yeah, but I will
Yes.
also interject and say that like I feel like it's the same way for boys though.
Okay,
At least it
they're
was
just
the same
maybe-
way for me.
Okay, so maybe boys just are not as outwardly like, I don't know, girls
No,
will like
because-
write your name in their journal.
What we would
like-
do is like sit and be like, oh yeah, I have like such a crush on her. Like I think we're talking, and then like when she like doesn't continue talking to her, you're like, she screwed me over, bro. That's pretty much. I probably used the phrase "screwed over" more than anyone
Oh
in
my
my entire
God.
life in high school. For that exact
Yeah.
thing, though, of
Yeah.
like, I really have a crush on this girl, and I don't know how to like articulate my
Yeah,
feelings.
and
really,
we made eye contact once, and I thought that was enough.
and like,
Clearly, we're not on
yeah,
the same page.
She said she wanted to hang out, but then I bailed on her 6 times, and now she's hanging out with so and so, bro.
Just to clarify, did each of you have a significant other in like the 6th or 7th grade where you didn't talk the entire time
Oh
that
my
you
God,
were
absolutely.
dating?
I had one of
And
those.
he's married
Yeah,
now. and
I
he's
think
married
that's
with
like a rite
kids,
of
and
passage, right? We
His
each
name
had
was
that.
Zach. It was a little foreshadowing.
Oh
He
my
had
Wow.
frosted bleach bangs at the
Oh,
time.
I thought you were gonna say he had one eye for some reason.
He had one eye.
Oh my
That's what you
gosh!
were
You know
going.
what? In like the 6th grade, like it was like my first real crush. I had a crush on a guy named Nick.
Yeah, see?
Holy shit.
So Ross, what was the name of your first crush?
Oh, first crush?
Well, I mean, okay, like
But like, or like high school, like you're like.
No, okay, no, your
okay, I
first-
never dated this guy. It was just like a boy I had a crush on, but like his name is Nick's name.
I think
Nick's
my
His name is Nick.
his name is Nick's name, which is. Can you clarify just for everybody listening?
I should smoke a little more.
My very first crush's name was Olivia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll end up with an Olivia. Maybe you'll end up with Olivia.
Well, I don't think that that's going to happen.
Oh,
but
okay, well.
but maybe it is an Olivia. Yeah, who knows?
Who could ever say?
Who's to say? Who's to say?
Surely not me.
But yeah, I do think the relationship thing. Just to kind of put a bow on that, I think that goes the same way for
Okay.
like boy or girl.
Would have
But-
been nice to know.
but no one knows how to like articulate feelings at that point in time. And again, on the boy side, if the girl like isn't immediately like, I'm in love with you because I know secretly you're in love with me, then you're like, what the fuck, bro? Like she just doesn't care.
Girls take every little thing as a sign, and guys are very direct and forward.
Literal.
And
Yeah.
literal. And so girls would be like, oh my God, I can't believe that he did this. And the guy's like, doesn't even remember that he did it. And we're like,
Yeah,
what
that's
does
fair.
it mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like moving into our next bullet point of like, what did you learn in high school?
Oh
Like-
hold on. I didn't lay my high school out.
Yeah, Ross
I didn't
has
do
to
that.
talk about himself.
Oh, we're going
Leah.
to talk about Ross? Oh,
Guys.
my
Oh,
bad.
God, surprise here.
Listen. I made this show, okay?
We're bullying Ross now.
So
I'm gonna
So
see if
now
it
you know
works.
who we are.
So ask me some questions. Could you? Let's do a Q&A real quick.
Gosh.
No, but yeah,
Going back to my roots.
I
Sorry.
did.
I'm bullying.
Oh, okay, now the truth comes out. Okay, so high school for me was strange without it being bad. Like, if that makes sense. So like, I had incredibly close friends that were like super fun. There's so many like really fun, memories that I have of, like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. But this is also when I really, really started to notice, oh, I feel like an alien in my entire town. That's when I started to notice, like, even though I was super, like, I think super dumb, super immature, like, didn't know how to, like, really focus on anything or articulate my thoughts and feelings and all this sort of stuff, I still was very much like, none of this feels right. Like, none of this feels like anything that I want to be doing. Like, especially when you're starting to
Yeah.
think about, like, what's your job going to be? Are you going to go to college? Are you going to blah, blah, blah? I was like, yeah, I don't like any of that. So I would start to notice, though, but, like, I was always thinking about things so much differently than anybody I was around.
Okay.
And then a weird phase for me was like, and this was probably more towards the end of high school into like just right after, but like when I started getting into bands or starting like the clothing line that I started right out of high school, all that sort of stuff, I was met with a lot of like kind of just being shit on by a bunch of my close friends all of a sudden. So it became this really weird dynamic where like it was like some of my best friends at that point in time were like, we were still friends, but they would take, especially with like the advent of like Facebook and all that sort of stuff, they would take any opportunity they could to like shit all over me and
And
anything
it's
I wanted
always
to do.
just a little, like they're in the name of a joke. Like they're like, oh, come on, I'm just joking. But like just the status, just shitting on you.
But literally be like, yeah, I wish I was fucking starting a band too so I could blah, blah, blah because I'm a fucking idiot. And I'm like, oh, that's really weird. But then like we would hang out that night and I'd be like, this is really strange. And they're just like acting like nothing happened. So like I was met with this like beginning of a journey of like really starting to want to like be myself and venture out and try different things in life. But then some of my like closest friends immediately turn their back basically of like, fuck you for thinking any differently than we do.
Resisting change is a big thing.
100%. So
at
it
that
became,
time.
it became this like really weird dynamic where like I was starting to notice those things of like, okay, I don't feel like I really fit in. I'm thinking in different ways. I want to do different stuff, but I'm also having a blast with all my friends. But some of those friends absolutely shit on me for anything that I want to do that's not like going to Circle K and getting a Polar Pop and playing video games. Like, so yeah, it was a really weird, like, again, it wasn't bad or terrible, but it was this really strange thing that I feel like early on maybe started to form a bit of even how I communicate with people.
Okay.
Because I feel like I had to navigate so many weird conversations of like, there's something, you know, because I'm an angsty, angry teenager, there's something in me that kind of wants to like start a fight with you right now. But I also know that I don't want to do that. But I also know that you're not willing to talk about what's going on.
Yeah, you're invalidating me and what I'm doing, but I don't want the confrontation because I'm a kid, and this is weird.
Yeah. Actually, story about that. Not to trail off because I know we got another
Here's
bullet
the
point.
story
but
time card.
This is, thank you so much. And so my story time card, this is actually something I think about that because whenever I look back on high school, I'm always like, oh, I was dumb, I was immature, I didn't know, blah, 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 blah. But there's one really particular story that is based off of everything I just talked about.
Is this your fun story?
Or
This
is
isn't
your,
a fun story, but this is just
okay.
a story.
Joker
This is just
origin
a
story?
Opposite.
okay,
It wasn't
okay,
that
okay,
bad.
okay.
The Batman origin story.
Yeah, this is my Batman origin story. So I was walking in an
Where is she?
alleyway. And
Sorry.
that sounded just like Batman.
Thank you.
That was great.
I am a voice impersonator.
And, oh my God, it's Batman. Where is she? Where's she at? Come on. Where's she at? Seriously. Where's she? Come on, Joker, stop.
No. She's Robin.
You're right.
She's
I was just
Robin.
asking. I was inquiring for Batman.
Yeah.
They burst in the
Sends
room.
Robin first.
Batman's like, where are they? Robin's like, come on, can you just tell us?
Come on.
Tell us where they are. No, but based off of like that whole like weird bully thing that everybody just naturally went to, and I will make the story as quick as possible. There was turmoil between like friends groups because like I was in a band and all these other members, you know, naturally like someone left the band, so there was naturally this like, oh fuck you, because we just have to not be friends now. Like that was the way
Friends are
everybody.
enemies. Friends are enemies.
Exactly. That was the way everybody. I feel
There's
like in
no
high
gray
school,
area.
There wasn't, and there was no talking about why we're one of the other.
Yeah.
Obviously, right? It was either these people are going to fight because they hate each other, or they're super best friends, and there was no like weird. Even though we treated everything else like a gray area, like
Right.
hey, we might not be the best of friends, but we're super cool with each other and we're friends. In the friends groups is where so much of that drama and turmoil would be
Yes.
formed. And so I remember one distinct story that like I was basically being bullied by former super close friends. And like I remember getting on Twitter one night. This is like early stages of Twitter. But I got on and like these like friends of mine were just like shitting all over me, and I was like it like triggered something in me where I was like I wasn't pissed. I literally like the parent thing, I wasn't mad, I was disappointed. So like even though I was an angsty teenager who didn't really know how to like handle everything, I knew enough to be like, this is weird and this is dumb and this doesn't have to be this way. So I literally at that moment got in my car and drove to the dude's house. Not to like go in and be like, what the fuck, bro, like and fight. I literally showed up, and his mom, who knew all this stuff was going on, she was like, she answered the door and she was like, what? Oh, hi, what are you doing? And like she like loved me, so that it wasn't like a why are you here, but it was like a oh my God, what are you doing here? And I was like, I need to talk to so and so because like this has to stop. And so I remember like I go in the dining room, sit at the table, he walks out of his room and like legit like he saw a ghost, was like, what are you doing here? And I literally like somehow had the frame of mind as an 18-year-old or whatever. I literally was just like, dude, why is this happening? Mm-hmm. Why do we have to do this? Why are you acting like this? Like, we're friends. I want to be friends. What made this weird drama all of a sudden? Like, all this sort of stuff. And it was like my first example of addressing a problem head on and being super direct. And literally when we had the conversation at the end of it, he literally the entire time was like, I don't know. I don't know why I'm doing this. And it is stupid. You're right. And then like literally from that, I healed that friendship. Mm-hmm. And like all of that drama stuff stopped.
And unfortunately, there is so much turmoil in high school because no one is brave enough to do that. And you shouldn't have to do it.
Right. But it's like, for me, I always have that weird contrast in my brain because, again, I think of high school me and I want to downplay it. I'm like, what an idiot, what a dummy. You didn't know anything, but somehow I still had the emotional intelligence and awareness at that point in time, which is like,
we definitely had so much because I went through way more in high school than I have in my adult life.
Yeah.
Way more.
Yeah. And being able to address those things, like thinking back to how you addressed it, it might not have always been perfect. But when you think of those moments where it's like, damn, you did that?
Yeah,
like,
you got through that.
Like that situation is something that I'm like, yeah, I'll jump in the time machine and go give high school me props for dealing with that situation that way, because that's how adult me would deal with a situation like that. I'd be like, why are we doing it? Like, what's the point? Why are we having this this discourse right now? Let's just have a conversation about it and decide, are we friends and are we cool or are we not? But out of that conversation became a mended friendship. And I feel like that probably set something in me of like, oh, this is what happens when you address problems like this. Now, did I immediately turn that around and perfectly address every single problem after that? Not at all. But when I think back to that time frame, it still sometimes surprises me where I'm like, oh, maybe you were always like this. But it was like that core piece that was buried super far down, that only in those moments where it was like, I'm so fucking uncomfortable, I have to just like face it.
This is my way to dig myself out of this hole.
Yeah.
Progress is made in uncomfortable places.
Exactly. I think did you say that earlier in the
Yes,
in the
I
show?
did.
Were we
I'm going to
recording
say
when
that
you
a
said
lot
that?
because
Zero.
honestly, it's
Growth is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So those are some good things that maybe we learned. So Leah, as you brought up earlier, let's dig into that. What did we learn in high school? What do we feel like?
What were life skills, not like math and English and those types of things?
No, not at all.
Because if we're going by that, nothing.
Yeah, I feel like mine would honestly maybe be going off of what you like the story that I sort of just segued in with is like.
So I was right to lead in with the.
We know what we're doing. We know what we're doing.
This is a professional podcast.
Yeah.
Yes, we know
do this all the time.
to do this. This is episode like 100 at this point, I think, as we're so far into this. But I do think that that's what it was. Is like situations like that I ended up getting a positive result out of by doing something so uncomfortable that no one else around me was going to do. I think that sort of reinforced in me like, oh no, it's okay to think the way that you think or to feel the way that you feel, to want to address problems and solve a problem rather than just saying it's just high school, we're all fuckheads. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that is that time frame when I started to learn not just about me and what I wanted to do and how I wanted to kind of have a career or a life surrounded by like the creative entertainment world or whatever it is, but I more so figured out like, oh no, you are different than, like, unique from the people in your hometown or the people you're going to high school with, and that's okay. And like, you're going to be really uncomfortable because you're still going to kind of be like bullied about it. You're still going to kind of have to deal with, you're probably not going to be comfortable with it until your later years as an adult. But identifying at that point in time of like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to like become more of who I want to be. And if parts of that are being in a band and getting made fun of it for it, or deciding to start going to Columbus and making new friends groups and everyone's like, what the or you're leaving our friends group, like, fuck you. Like, being able to kind of start addressing those problems, but understanding it's for something that I want to be doing.
Yeah.
I feel like that's my like biggest lesson during that time is like maybe that like non-conformity or something. You know what I mean? Of like, hey, you've spent a lot of time conforming to everybody around you. You still kind of are doing it your own way. You know what I mean? Like, I never gave into like peer pressure of like partying or something. Like, I never drank or smoked or anything like that. So I was good at not giving into peer pressure in that way, but the more casual peer pressure of like, don't listen to Fall Out Boy, that's stupid. We need to listen to screamo music only. And I was like, you're right. Can't be caught listening to Fall Out Boy. I don't want to do that. Like, it was this weird dynamic. But I think all of that led to my biggest lesson being, even if I didn't super clearly see it, it was, hey, it's actually okay to be yourself. And you're getting an example of like, okay, if these people don't like you when you are you, how much is that worth anyway? So I feel like that's my thing, my big takeaway.
Okay. Brittani, do you think that you have like a moment that maybe you realized that you had learned something in high school about yourself?
I don't know. Honestly, I feel like high school for me was so much. Like, I did not just like squeak by, you know what I mean? Like, there was always big drama happening. And I don't know how much of it like I was a source in.
I wish this episode could be like 2 hours long because I want to hear so much of this.
I'm like Brittany has like tea. You know, I don't have tea really.
So I have to admit that I did not do all the growing I needed to in high school. I knew similarly to Ross that I was different, and like I didn't waste time trying to figure out how to mesh with the people there because I was like, I'm not staying. I'm getting out of here anyway. I think there was a point that I realized that like the cool girls in my school and stuff, I did not want to be like them. I was no longer aspiring to like do whatever they were doing because they weren't doing much. And I was like, oh, whoa, there are way cooler people in the world to aspire to look up to. And I feel like once I realized what was outside of my high school, then I figured out who I was, even though I was still in high school.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I think just like the bigger picture, the world outside of there, because so many people don't see it until they're out, and then they're like, whoa, what is this world? And I like kind of got my foot in the outside world a little earlier on.
Yeah.
Honestly, same. All right, Leah, what do you feel like when you look back at high school? Is there something that like
I've
shaped
kind
you,
of
formed
learned
you?
similar to what you've learned of like having direct conversations about things if they're bothering me, because being straightforward and direct has been like the most foolproof way to get through life since high school, I think, instead of having that, oh, well, you know, so-and-so said this, and, you know.
I'm still bad at that, and I would have a better quality life if I could be more direct and forward.
Yeah.
So that's good that you were able to figure that out so early on.
Yeah, I think that it was one of those things where, like, there were just too many random things where you hear something from somebody else, or even if you think you know something and then you pass along information, then it turns into a game of telephone. And so, you know, if it was, oh, well, so-and-so seems mad at you, or said she was mad at you or something like that, like I would just message so-and-so and be like, listen, I don't know what I did that upset you, but like, let's get past this. And I think I learned that pretty early on. But I think as far as like the biggest thing that I learned was just ultimately like being kind to everybody around you is never going to like give you a bad result. Mm-hmm. Like I still to this day have I have a friend that was very quirky and like ever since elementary school, like didn't have a whole lot of friends, like didn't get along with a lot of people. But this is somebody that was always super nice, super supportive, just maybe a little quirky. And like to this day, still like keep in contact with this person and stuff because there are a lot of people that wouldn't because of the quirkiness. And I thought this is maybe one of the kindest people I've ever met. And I think kindness can go such a long way. And if you're not sitting there looking at every situation or every person, like, what are you going to do for me? But more so like who they are as a person. That's something that was really important kind of going through high school because when you go to a school that has so many people, you're going to encounter a lot of people, a lot of different kinds of people, and a lot of people that you don't know what they're going through and that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I like to think that I was kind. And like I said, somebody out there might think differently as far as I know who's to say, but
yeah, no, I think that's huge. And that honestly, I promise I'm not going to trail us off because I know we're about to wrap up, but like, another thing that I think back on, like me and my friends group, that I'm actually super proud of us for doing as dumb teenagers in high school, is like that whole like just be kind to people just because. Like I remember when everyone's having their graduation parties, right? There was a kid in our grade who wasn't the most popular kid. He was definitely viewed as like one of the weird kids, and like he was funny and people like liked him and were kind to him, but like weren't. He was never like, oh, come sit with us, come hang out with us, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But I feel like we were the group that ever tried to kind of go out of our way to like make sure we were really nice to him. And I have this one that's honestly one of my favorite memories, and it's not life-changing at all. But while we were all hanging out, you know, it's like the couple weeks time span where everybody's having their grad parties, all that sort of stuff. One of our friends, we're all meeting up at someone's house. He comes over and he says, hey, I just drove by so-and-so's house. It looks like he's having his grad party out back. It's like him and like a couple family members. We should go. And so we all pack up. Like we all pack up and we go over to this dude's house. And like
uninvited.
Literally though, uninvited. But like when we show up and walk into like his yard, I like literally, it's like, I'm not saying we changed this dude's life, but like it is ingrained in my brain, the look on his face. Like he literally was super shocked, but mega stoked.
That's so
like literally
sweet.
the biggest like shock smile on his face. And we were all like, yo, what's up, dude? Like, and he's like, literally like, what are you guys doing here?
Yeah.
And we were like, he drove by and he saw that you were having a grad party. So like, we know we didn't get invited, but we wanted to at least come say hey and like hang out for a little bit. And like literally it was like him and like his closest, I don't know, 4 family members or something. But then like this crew of like 8 dudes rolls up that he goes to school with,
Yeah.
but doesn't, you know what I mean? Like necessarily hang out with or anything. And like we hung out there for like an hour, and like literally I could genuinely tell, like you were saying, Leah, of like just be kind to somebody because you're going to get a good result from it.
Yeah.
It has always been just burned into my brain. Like I could tell how much it made this dude's day. Not because we were super cool, not because we were the popular kids showing up, but because like we were just people being kind and showing him friendship, and we didn't have to.
Right.
It's going out of your way just to be kind and be nice and try to make someone's day. And like literally the entire time we were there, he just has the most big, just gigantic smile on his face the entire time, and is getting to hang out, and we're all joking and all this sort of stuff. And like I remember leaving, and like when we go to continue hanging out wherever we were going, we all were like, wow, you feel that feeling? Like, is this what like really being nice to someone feels like? Like we were all like stoked that we went and got to share that experience with this person. So yeah, you
Yeah.
saying the whole like be kind to somebody because it matters more than you, all that sort of stuff, like that has been a thing that has stayed in my brain, that I will always say no matter what like weird drama or turmoil or disconnections that like certain friends could have had, or like now we've grown apart as adults, like it's those sort of memories that I can look back on and I'm like, that was like a cool fucking thing
beyond.
that we all got to do together and like hopefully help make someone else's day out of just a random act of kindness. So yeah, that I just wanted to share that story really bad because I'm like, you know
No,
what?
for sure.
That thing, like that made me think of that particular experience.
A light bulb went off.
It absolutely did. Okay, so let's start to wrap this episode up. I know we've all shared different stories. I've shared a bunch of stories because I was going to make a show about me. But let's end on a high note. Let's leave it on a high note. Do we have any fun stories from high school? This doesn't need to have a big life lesson with it. It doesn't have to have some big impactful thing. Is there a super fun thing do you
Yes.
remember from high school? Brittany?
I was high school age.
Okay.
Okay. And I was going to see Kesha at the Ohio State Fair.
Oh, well, at the what?
At the Ohio State
Okay.
Fair.
All right.
This was like TikTok era, not TikTok, but TikTok. Kesha TikTok.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I definitely, my brain did stop for a
Oh
second.
my gosh.
I was like, TikTok then?
The OG TikTok. And we went the day before to see where our seats were. It was me and my boyfriend at the time. And the day before happened to be Cash Explosion. And so we just went, we didn't know anything was happening. We go to like walk in and they just usher us to seats with like goodie bags and these things where you can like win, like a thing to win money. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Wow.
So we just think that I'm going in to see these seats, and then we're sitting and we're part of the show, like we're in the audience. And they do
But you
like
didn't pay for a ticket, or
no.
it was free?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. They let us in. They put a hat on my head and shoved me. I was 16, and
Oh
I was
my
like, this is the
gosh.
best thing ever. We each get a ticket, and they do like little things where guests will come down and like win games or get prizes or whatever. I have my ticket. My boyfriend has his ticket. And they're like, okay, we're going to read the thing. Again, we're in like the auditorium. Like there's hundreds. There's like probably a couple thousand people in here.
Oh my God.
And they read the numbers, and it's his ticket, okay? It's not my ticket, but he's not saying anything. And I'm like, dude, this is free money. We're 16. We don't have jobs. Like, so I'm like, it's my ticket. Because they're like, hello, is anyone going to claim this ticket?
Yeah.
Like, why are you not claiming your ticket? So I'm like, it's my ticket. And they're like, come on down. I'm wearing Old Navy flip-flops.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh gosh.
I just tumbled down the stairs. I tumbled down the stairs. I've tried to
my
find this like on
gosh.
YouTube. I cannot find it. And let me just tell you that they were supposed to send someone up to escort. So he's standing at the bottom of the stairs where I'm now at.
It catches your flailing body.
Essentially. And he's like, you didn't have to do this. It didn't have to be this way. All for that, $50. It did pay for my Netflix for a couple of months because I was 16.
Solid, okay.
But the embarrassment that I have been left with my whole life.
Wow.
And it wasn't even my ticket.
Wow.
Oh my God. Hey, so if you're listening to the show or watching and you were at that,
If you have
Oh
a
my
recording,
God,
if
yeah.
If you
if
know.
anyone knows, well,
On
this
the
was
first iPhone ever.
you
Yeah,
found her. You
seriously.
found the girl who fell down the stairs. She's here.
I had
leaving
red
some
bangs
footage.
at that point also.
She looks the same.
Exactly the same.
This is it. Leah, anything fun come to mind?
I wouldn't say fun, but similar style-wise to your story. I was on a trip to Boston with show choir. I was in the show choir called Top 25, and we were in Boston, Massachusetts, and we were doing like competitions and like educational stuff and whatever. And I want to say it was only like the second or third day of the trip because we were there for a week. It was like the night of the dinner dance cruise. I spent all this time getting ready, and I had this like little coochie dress, you know? And it was tight enough that like it didn't really flow. You know what I'm talking
Yes.
about? But it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't so tight that I was.
You weren't
It's
suffocating,
important.
but
Yeah.
it was like a body
It's
con.
important. I promise. This comes back later. But I spent all day getting ready. We had this dinner dance cruise this night. You know, it was like the only night it wasn't like an educational thing. And we were all going to like dance and have dinner, and it was a good time. And so Thriller comes on. And there was this guy named Greg that was super into Michael Jackson, like obsessed with Michael Jackson. And so he like kind of parted the seas of, you know,
The dance
children
floor?
so that there was, like a little dance aisle. And so like all the guys were doing these like fun things going down, but none of the girls would go down. And I was like, I got this, right? And I'm in this thing where I know that like my skirt's not going to go up. So I went into a handstand and then I went backwards into the worm.
Oh my God.
It was like super highlight moment. Everybody was like, what the fuck? You know, but then my knee popped out of the socket.
Ooh,
So
what?
yeah.
There's ever a need for
And
that
so-
sound now.
Knee popped out of the socket. We were like out in the middle of the ocean, not middle of the ocean, but like it took us at least 30 minutes
is
to get
really
back
getting
to
crazy.
land.
Holy shit.
Kneecaps on the side of my leg. I'm screaming. They like moved everybody else into like a different part of the deck. And so I get the guy from the ambulance comes to pick me up in the chair, and he's like, you're going to have to stop screaming. And I was like, my kneecap is over here, sir. So we took the ambulance to the children's hospital. There was like paintings of bears on the ceiling.
Oh yeah, this is a core memory for you.
Yes. And I remember being like, I better get a fucking popsicle after this. And I did. They brought me a popsicle. It was red. But like they had to like rip my dance tights to like move everything back. And they were like giggling when they came in because they knew that I popped my knee out of the socket doing the worm. And so the entire rest of the trip, I was like in a wheelchair, and then I was on a pair of crutches or a single crutch for at least like a month or two
my
following.
Wow.
Was it worth it though? That like
No.
the
A
little
moment.
bit.
Not at all. Probably the worst pain I've ever felt in my
Oh
entire
my
life.
God.
And I feel like sometimes when you pop something out of the socket, it just jams back in almost immediately. Mine did not. Like
Oh
it was
my
like,
God.
yeah,
You
I
should
had to
have
do physical therapy.
Reverse the worm. You should have did it the other way back.
Forward. I should
And
have
it would have
done the
it
regular
probably
worm.
would have went.
I don't think I'll ever do the
Wow.
worm again in my life.
I wouldn't.
I'm scarred.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I would not do
Handstands
that.
are safe, but like I won't do the worm.
But the worm is off limits.
How many
That's what
how
we
My
many
learned.
mom said the worm is off limits. I'm not allowed.
how many worm wiggles was it until the kneecap went
It's
away?
all kind of a
It's for
blur.
science.
It was all kind of a
What's
blur.
the safe
I need
zone?
to
I just
know,
remember
like-
looking up at my friend who was like, everybody back up. And I didn't know it had happened yet. Like it took a second before I was
Ugh.
like, it was almost like shock where I was kind of like, oh, what's going on? And everything was spin. Oh, it was just.
I said,
yeah.
no, everyone keep cheering. What do you mean?
I just did the worm.
But I went out in style. I looked really
Damn.
nice
Oh,
that
absolutely.
night.
so cool. That's
Everybody was so
incredible.
nice to me. And I had this one friend that like, she's a hairstylist now as well. And I went to her like years later to do my hair. And she goes, just so you know, your like screams live rent free in my brain. And I'm like,
Oh, damn it.
God.
Wow. I also love that it was at sea.
yeah.
Yes.
In Boston, Massachusetts. I was out in like the Boston Harbor, you know.
You're kind of a pirate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a
I
one
should
leg
have got
type
a,
thing.
like a
But
peg
that's how
leg.
they get peg legs.
Probably.
You do the worm.
They do the worm with the. All right, check this one out. Oi!
Boy, maybe.
I popped out me again.
That's what
need
I was
me
going
penguin.
for. It was pirate, really.
That's incredible.
If you didn't
That's
know,
for
I'm
an eye patch,
obsessed.
not a popsicle.
Yeah.
Your high school boyfriend had an eye patch, according to what we determined earlier. He had a one.
Forget which one we were talking about now.
Someone. It was
Yeah.
someone had one eye. You had
That's
one
right,
leg.
that's right.
I feel like I should have went first because my fun story ender is not as hype or as crazy as that. Mine is me learning that I could get away with things because high school history class, we are, we do these like weekly tests or whatever, weekly quizzes, and I'm a teacher's aide with one of my friends in another period. The teacher's aide for our history teacher comes into the copy room that we were in at that point in time. She's making copies or something of like our next handful of months of quiz answers. And we jokingly tell this girl, we're like, you should make us a copy. And she says, okay, here you go. So she makes us each individually a copy of all the answers of all of our upcoming tests. So I am like, I'm not telling anybody about this. Mm-hmm. This was like early in the day. By lunch, other friend had told the whole class, our whole grade.
Everybody knew.
Everybody knew, and his copy had been passed around and been multi-copied.
Everyone's getting A's.
Everyone had a copy of this. And I was like, oh, damn, well, this isn't going to go well, probably. And so then for the next handful of weeks, maybe a couple months, everyone is cheating on all of these tests. So eventually, teacher catches on. She finds out. And I remember throughout the day, because our grade was also so small, I think there was like 2 or 3 classes of like
Right.
some of the grade was in early in the day, midday, then
Yeah.
late day.
Yeah.
I was in the last class, and me and most of my friends were in the final class of the day. So we're hearing throughout the day, like, she's pissed. Like, she literally, just so you know,
Oh my
she's
God.
failing us all for the semester, or whatever they were called in high school.
Oh, gosh.
Like, we're all getting failed. Like, she's angry. She knows we're all cheating. And so we're all like, oh, damn it. Like, okay, we're going to go into class and whatever. So we go in, she starts class. She's like, all right. She's like, I know you guys know what's going on at this point in time. She handled it like, she also wasn't being like shitty teacher. She was like, I know what you guys did.
Yeah.
So like, you're not going to get away with it. So she's like, all right, I need the following kids to come out in the hallway with me. And, like she is going through this list and I'm like, all right, here we go. She doesn't say my name. And I'm like, oh. And it's like me and like the 4 kids in class who like studied their ass off to like pass every You know what I mean? Like the people who clearly didn't cheat. And one of my best friends at the time, as he's being dragged out in the hallway, he goes, what about Ross? And she goes, what about Ross? And he goes, he literally started this. And she looks at me and looks back at him and she goes, Ross wouldn't do that. And then pulls the rest of the class.
You're right. I would.
And I'm like, I would not. You're so right. You're absolutely right. And so she pulls everybody else out, gives them a big talking to, gives them failing grades or whatever. And I, even though I was one of the first 2 core people to do that, I got away with it.
And that's what you get for keeping your mouth shut.
See? There was a lesson that I learned in that. I didn't tell people. I didn't tell the entire grade. And I also did the thing where like I would give myself like C, B, A. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't like A. Like I was changing it up. I found out. I think maybe that's where I learned some business strategy early on. I think that was an example of me of like, all right, let's keep this close to the chest. We're gonna structure this in a way that looks very realistic. And it worked.
Me and my friends used to, because it was A, B, C, D are the answer options. We would just sign the number and then the letter in sign language if we needed help on our test.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's good. See,
Damn.
when we were actually trying to pass the test, my friend and I, because like also you realize high school is just about what can you memorize, not what did you learn.
Absolutely. That's all it is.
So like a lot of the times our teachers would give us like 10 minutes before to take the test to just memorize our study guide. And my friend and I had this study style where we would create vulgar and stupid sentences that involved the question and the answer. So that way when we saw it, we'd be like, oh, whatever, like, did George Washington, blah, blah, blah. We'd be like, George Washington stuck an apple up his asshole and then screamed, oh, B. And it literally worked. I'm not even kidding. It literally would help us get the answers.
So there's actually like evidence that like that studying in a way that like sticks with you like that, or like doing a paraphrasing if you don't want to get like raunchy about it. You're a boy, so you guys just did that, but like
we did.
You just
like,
shoved apples up George Washington's asshole.
There were apples up assholes and penises everywhere, and probably on. Nick said that when he was a kid and he sat in the front row,
you know how everybody would pass their papers forward? Whoever was like the one on top, he would draw a dick.
Okay. I know you were just explaining something really smart and intelligent to really make this podcast solid. One more stupid story. Do you remember the scene from Superbad with the penis paper? That actually happened in my school.
And it was you?
No, it was not me. It was one of my friends at my lunch table.
Oh my God.
He comes into lunch, makes a scene out of it. So, of course, it brings over the teachers. He comes into lunch, slams the paper down in the middle of the table. He goes, "Boys, check this out." And it was this paper, just like in Superbad.
He's like, "I've been practicing."
Filled with all these different kind of dicks.
Read it and weep, baby.
Different shapes, sizes,
Hot
colors.
off the press.
Literally. And we're all like, "Oh, man, look at that one, look at that one." And so this brings, like, the principal over. He's like, "What's going on?" And so, like, they so terribly hide the paper. He, like, sees the principal. So he's like, you know, like, clowning it, basically. It's like, and shoves it under the table. And he's like, "All right, can I see what's on that paper?" And he literally was like, "What paper?" and like my other friend beside him was like, here, like super obvious, like, "Pass me the paper." And he goes, No, boys, let me see it. And I'll never forget. My friend, like, really defeatedly, like, head down, like, hands in the paper, and he takes it and he unfolds it in front of us, and he just goes, "Oh." And, like,
he said, "What?"
He kept it. He probably kept it. He was like, "I'm going to frame this."
We did see a follow-up because he literally goes, "Oh, come on." And he goes, "I'm sorry." And we're all just sitting there, like, trying to not laugh super hard. Later in lunch, we see him showing the paper to the other teachers. And they're all laughing at it. So,
that
like,
would be the best day as a principal.
Dude, so good. So sorry, I just took your, like, very evidence back.
It was
like,
worth it.
But yeah, you saying the penis on the paper thing, I was like, we can't be doing an episode about high school, and I can't not
talk about
reference
drawing
my high
penises.
school's Jonah Hill.
Give the literal Superbad scene playing out in real
You had to
life.
draw penises, or if you were a girl, you drew that S.
Oh, the S and
Oh, yeah,
eyeballs.
absolutely.
I drew eyeballs, and you would think that I would be like the master of eyeballs. I draw exactly the same. I have been doing it since middle school.
Eyeballs, huh? Eyeballs is the thing. Okay.
Eyeballs freak me out.
We'll have to have you draw one.
Well, they're not really realistic. There's nothing to be scared of over here.
Okay.
We'll have you draw an eyeball, and we'll post it on the
Beautiful.
social so everybody can see your eyeball.
It'll
drawings.
actually be on the Patreon.
I will, yeah. On the Patreon, yeah, we're all going to draw different scenes of what we described. So Leah's going to draw herself doing the worm. I'm going to recreate the penis paper.
Beautiful.
For our Patreon. So yeah, that is the $15 tier. So we're putting in more work for that. Any final things before we wrap up this episode about high school?
Well, if you're in high school right now, just know that it does get better. There are people that feel the way that you feel. Your parents do understand because they have been a kid at your age at one point in time, whether you want to believe that or not. And don't be afraid to ask for help or to be direct with people about how you feel, because sometimes being vulnerable is the only way to make progress.
And that's why we made a podcast called Honestly Same, to talk about that vulnerability, to talk about all those real things. So where can people find us around the internet? Do we want to keep connecting with people? We're talking about how we want to connect with people. We want to talk to people about these things. Generally, it doesn't have to be a funny high school story. If you're going through something, we
Tell
all
us your
want
high
to
school
talk.
stories.
We all want to talk to you. So, Brittani, can people find you on the internet?
Yes, you can find me at HAIBRITTANI.
Beautiful. Leah?
Mine will be at LA.PETITEGOTH.
And I am at Ross Tyson. Tyson is spelled THEISEN. But most importantly, the show, follow the show at Honestly Same Pod. Wherever you're listening to this at, make sure you hit that subscribe button, the follow button, whatever it is. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Guys, that was a really fun little
was.
time travel back into high school.